Working on budgets and other elements of personal finance are completely pointless unless you know exactly what kind of life you want to have. Otherwise, you're just kind of optimizing and setting up a budget for a life that you may not want. And that is where lifestyle design comes in. I'm going to show you 3 different questions that you have to answer in order to be able to design the life that you want and bring extreme clarity to the direction of your life. But before we get into them, I have to warn you. Going down this exercise can really cause you to question some life decisions. So I didn't warn you. We're usually full of hopes and dreams, but then the expectations of society and the responsibilities of life really work together to kind of crush us into just falling into this cycle of figuring out new ways to pay our bills. Then as we get older, hopefully our skills increase, which means we can make even more money, which usually we just use to get even bigger bills. Next thing you know, you're a lot older and you don't really have any hobbies. You're working at a job that you just kind of ended up in that's paying all those bills. And if you met teenage version of you, you'd probably be a little embarrassed to tell them what you guys ended up doing. Most of the time in our life, we take a money first, life second approach. All lifestyle design does is flip that, and we take a life first, money second approach. And the great thing is it can help with a lot of these problems at any stage of our life. So we get started by answering these 3 important questions. So the first question that we have to ask ourselves is, what do I want? And then the second question that we got to ask that really ties in with that is, why do I want it? Once we've really got a lot of clarity on those 2, then we move to the third question, which is, how am I going to get it? One of the biggest problems that we have is people can't even ask this first question because we don't have a lot of what I call rocking chair moments to where, it's that picturesque scene to where you're sitting on a patio in a rocking chair, you got a cup of joe in your hand, and you're just thinking about life. We don't do that anymore. And if we do, there's normally a screen in front of our face that's distracting us from thinking about stuff like this. Now, for the few people that really do stop to think about this question and figure out what they want in life, they almost never get to the second question, which is, why do I want it? And I'll give you a really good example of why this is important, because the why can actually change the what. Because one of the most common things that people will come to me with is talking about buying a house. Okay, what do you want? I want to buy a house. Okay, that's great. Why do you want to buy a house? I don't know. I just want a house. Well, there's a lot of different reasons for it. You can buy a house because you want to move your family out of a bad neighborhood and you want to get to a place that has better schools. You can buy a house because you want it as an investment property. Okay, why do you want it as an investment property? Well, I want it because I want monthly cash flow, or I want it because I want to flip it and get a pile of money out. All of these things are really important because then it lets us know, okay, is the why for the house about security for your family, or is it about investing? Now, what I recommend for people to do is to think about this in a 3-year time frame, because if we think about it 5 to 10 years out, it's just a little too far to feel real. But if you think, what do I want in the next 3 years? And then you go to the why do I want it, you can really come up with a strong, defined answer that you can really build a roadmap to. And that takes us to the third question, which is, how am I going to get it? In the modern world that we live in, very few people ever really stop to have what I call rocking chair moments where, you're just sitting on the patio in your rocking chair with a cup of coffee in your hand, and you're really thinking about this question, what do I want in life? And if you are thinking about that, we almost never get to the point where we're asking about, why do I want it? And the reason that we don't normally get to it is because even if you are sitting in that rocking chair with a cup of joe in your hand, there's probably a screen in front of you that's distracting you from really taking this to heart and thinking about it. And if you can't answer the first question with crystal clear definition, and you can't answer the second one either, then the third question doesn't even matter. Now, thinking about these things can make you a bit dizzy if you're doing it from the context of the rest of your life. Nobody knows what they want to do for the rest of their life or why they want it. So what I find when I'm working with people in my mastermind is it's best if we focus on what we want 3 years out. And by the way, there's a caveat here, a little asterisk that I got to put on this. If you are married, then it's not what do I want, it's what do we want. Just got to throw that out there. It's important because you're both in the same boat together, so we have to make sure that you're rowing in the same direction. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere. So once you've answered questions 1 and 2, then you can start working on question number 3, which can be a little complicated if you don't have a process for that. So if you need one, you can check out this video in the description below, and I will walk you through my 7-step design process and how that works. But to get you started, you're going to want to do these 4 things. So the very first thing that you're going to do is get a pen and paper and write down your answers. Research shows that when we write down what our goals are, we are 40% more likely to attain them. Like, there is nothing else that you can do that is so simple that will increase your chances of success and getting what you want better than that. So if you're serious about this, you have to write down your answers. So now that you have your long-term goals written down, or what I call objectives, now what you want to do is think about your life and the things that do not align with what you want. And whenever you've written down what those things are, I want you to be aggressive with this next step, because it's time to eliminate these things to free up time, energy, and money. This is a really important part of the process, because if we don't free up time, energy, and money, more than likely the majority of it is already spent, and we just aren't going to be able to put enough effort into making those objectives happen. And then the next thing that you're going to want to do is write down a plan on how you're going to make progress towards these objectives over the next 90 days. This is really important. And you even want to write something down that you're going to do today. Try to make it something that you can do in 10 to 15 minutes. But we want to get quick, small wins, and we want to stack those wins regularly. This helps us turn motivation into discipline and will help us on the way to attaining the things that we want. Lifestyle design really just breaks down to being intentional about how we are spending our most precious resources, which is our time, energy, and money. Stop going with the flow of life that society has dictated for you. Focus your resources on the things that are significant and meaningful to you, and then go after it aggressively as if you only had one life to accomplish it, because you do.